Hey everyone, and welcome. Have you ever felt like you're just running on autopilot? You know, those moments where your daily actions just seem to happen without you even thinking about them? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on the powerful, but actually really simple psychological theory that explains exactly why we do what we do. So let's dive in and really get to know the mechanics behind our own habits.
So, what is this big secret behind all our habits? It's a theory that psychologists have been working on for over 100 years, and it explains how these simple, tiny connections in our brain can build up to create our most complex behaviors. To get our heads around it, let's start with an example I'm pretty sure you've already experienced, probably in the last hour.
I mean, really think about it. That buzz or that ping from your phone, that's a trigger, a stimulus. And your immediate reaction to just grab the phone without a second thought, that's the response. You don't sit there and weigh the pros and cons. It's just this automatic reflex. So how in the world did that connection get so incredibly strong? And that right there is the key. So much of what we do isn't about deep conscious thought. It's about this powerful, almost invisible link between a trigger and our action. This is the absolute foundation of what's called stimulus response theory. And to really understand how it works in our crazy high-tech world, we actually need to rewind the clock, way back, to a much simpler experiment that involved a very hungry cat. Yup, you heard that right. To understand our own modern habits, we're going to head back to the late 1800s. We're going to meet a psychologist who learned pretty much everything he needed to know by watching a very, very clever cat in a box. So, this is our guy, Edward Thorndike, a total pioneer in educational psychology. He had this simple but, at the time, revolutionary idea. He believed that all learning, whether it's a cat figuring out how to escape a box or a student learning math, is really just about forming connections inside the mind. And he came up with a brilliant experiment to prove it. Okay, so here's the setup. It's pretty straightforward. Thorndike would place a hungry cat inside the special puzzle box. Now, the cat could see and smell a delicious piece of fish right outside, but the door was locked. To get out and get that tasty reward, the cat had to figure out the trick. Now, what's so cool is watching the process unfold. The first time the cat's in the box, it's just chaos. It's scratching, it's biting things, pacing around. That's what we call trial and error. But then, completely by accident, it hits a lever. The door swings open, and bam, it gets the fish, the reward. Now, every time it's put back in the box, the random stuff starts to disappear. And the time it takes to pull the lever gets shorter and shorter. The cat has learned the connection. It's linked the lever to the reward. So just from watching this simple process again and again, Thorndike developed 3 fundamental laws of learning. And these aren't just rules for cats in boxes, okay? These are the golden rules that explain how all of us build and break our habits every single day. First up, and this is the most important one, is the law of effect. This is the heart of the whole theory. Put simply, any behavior that's followed by a good, satisfying feeling is way more likely to be repeated. For the cat, getting that fish was super satisfying, right? So the lever-pulling behavior got stronger. On the flip side, if an action leads to a bad outcome, that behavior gets weaker. Let's make it super clear. For the cat, pulling the lever led to getting a fish, a pleasant result. This strengthened the lever-pulling habit. But just imagine if pulling that same lever triggered a loud, scary noise instead. Well, the law of effect predicts the cat would very quickly stop touching that lever. The consequence, good or bad, directly shapes what it does next time. Next up, we have the law of exercise. Now, at first, Thorndike thought that just repeating an action was enough to strengthen a habit. You know, practice makes perfect. But he actually updated his own theory later, because he realized that practice only really works when it's rewarded. Just repeating something over and over without a satisfying outcome doesn't really build a strong connection. And finally, there's the law of readiness. This one is all about what's going on inside you. I mean, think about it. If the cat wasn't hungry, it wouldn't be very motivated to escape the box for the fish, would it? It's the same for us. If a student is tired or just not interested, they're not going to learn very well. Being ready, willing, and able to learn is a crucial ingredient for those mental connections to actually form. Okay, so we've got a hungry cat and 3 laws from over 100 years ago. Why does any of this matter to you today? Well, because these exact principles are running in the background of almost everything we do. Let's see how they apply in our modern world. This theory is literally everywhere. For example, when you're training a dog, giving it a treat right after it sits, that is a direct application of the law of effect. Or in therapy, figuring out how something neutral, like an elevator, can become linked with a fear response. That's the very first step in treating phobias. It's all about finding and then changing those stimulus-response connections.
Thorndike's work really laid the foundation for a whole school of thought called behaviorism. His ideas inspired other huge names in psychology like Pavlov and his famous dogs, and B.F. Skinner, who took the law of effect and expanded it into his own theory of operant conditioning, which is all about how consequences shape our behavior. Now, of course, it's not quite that simple. Critics pointed out that these theories can seem a little robotic, right? Like we have no free will. What about our thoughts, our feelings, that little voice inside our heads? Well, later schools of thought, like cognitive psychology, popped up to explore those exact questions, arguing that what happens in between the stimulus and the response is just as important. All right, so after that deep dive into the psychology of our habits, let's wrap it all up. Let's recap the 3 most important takeaways that you can start thinking about today.
Just 3 powerful ideas that really explain it out.
First, our brains are basically connection-making machines, always trying to link triggers to actions. Second, the law of effect is king. It decides everything. If you want to build a new habit, make the outcome feel good. If you want to break one, find a way to remove that reward. And third, you have to be ready and motivated for any real learning or change to actually stick.
So the next time you catch yourself running on autopilot, just remember the simple mechanics behind it all: a stimulus, a response, and a reward. These are the building blocks of you. The real question is, now that you know the rules of the game, which habits are you going to choose to reinforce, and which ones are you ready to rebuild? Thanks so much for watching.